What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday. Welcome back. It is the 10-minute mailbag, but this is a special one. Why? It's because I'm answering basically the one question that everyone has been asking me for weeks. This is not going to be a long mailbag. Well, it's going to be the normal 10 minutes, but it's not going to have many questions. The main question today: who should be my wild card in Season 2? Of course, you can eventually work your way up to getting a total of 4 wild cards in Season 2, but you're going to be starting or very early on unlocking just one. So we got to figure out who we're using. What is the best card to use as a wild card to start your Season 2 journey? Go talk about it. Also, as a quick reminder, you, right there, you can have your question answered potentially in the 10-minute mailbag. Leave your question down below in the YouTube comments, or join the Discord. Linked in the description. We have a ton of fun there. The Discord is not just for questions, it's also for general conversation and life support. So, put your questions there. I'll see if I can get to them. So I will be reading just one iteration of the question today because there's no sense in reading 18 people ask the same thing. But as you can see on your screen, we've got stuff to talk about, and we're going to do that in just a moment. So in 3, 2, 1, begin. The question I'm reading today comes from what I found to be the most funny username. This is from Discord. Real ones will remember this. 2 girlies, 1 cup. The Los Angeles Rams joke, LOL. I'm just curious about how you would do your wildcard slot. What positions or specific attributes would you like? Pitcher or hitter? If we don't have any collections or XP 99s, who should we use? Thanks in advance. A fantastic question. A multi-layered question. So we're going to talk about it. I have constructed a lineup here of cards that I would consider using as a wild card. Now, general statement before we talk about who to wildcard. This should go without saying, but I still think it's important to bring up. We should not actually be deciding our wildcards today, right? Like, we should know in our mind which cards we have, maybe which cards we want to get before the season goes away. But we should not be deciding our wildcards right this moment. Why? We need to see what Season 2 even offers us. Who's available in Team Affinity? Which cards are free? How are the cornerstone captain's going to work? Like, we don't know anything yet. So the first thing we have to do, and this sounds silly, but it's true, is we got to see what they're even giving us. For example, if they're giving me a banger center fielder off rip, or a cornerstone captain, is a center fielder off rip, I might not wildcard Willie Mays. But if center field or one of the outfield positions, looks like one of the weaker positions to start Season 2, maybe that's when I shift my attention to the outfield. Generally speaking, 95.7% of the time, my wild card will be a hitter, because I want to be able to use that card as often as possible, every game. If you are going to make it a pitcher, your prerogative. I recommend it to be a reliever, because at least you can use that card more often. I also think relief help early in a season is going to be very hard to come by. For example, if we have really bad lefty relievers to start the season, I might recommend just looking into, you don't have to do it, but at least considering wildcarding a lefty reliever. But we'll get through all the specifics. When I'm looking for a wild card, you mentioned like certain attributes you're looking for. I'm looking for things that are going to give me the severe upper hand early in a season. Yes, a 99 in general should do that. Should do the trick just fine. But think about it. What are early season cards lacking, generally? They're lacking vision. They're lacking clutch. They're lacking contact, potentially. So I'm looking for those types of things. Like high vision, high clutch, high contact against an 89 overall starter is going to fuck hard. So that's what I'm looking for. Generally speaking, these are who I would consider the best wild card bats. I don't have every card in the game. I don't think many people do, but I'm pretty sure I didn't forget anybody. We'll start at catcher, because you'll see here, first of all, there are 3 catching options I think you should consider. I don't have Chase Pack Adley. I know his price has come down. Adley's not my go-to catcher, but Chase Card Adley is certainly in the conversation. My go-to catcher, I currently have at first base, but I'll pop him over here. Assuming catcher starts off weak, because it tends to, Jorge Posada is going to be my wild card. I know this is a lot of moonshot. I understand. but 22 of his 35 hits are home runs. It doesn't matter that his powers are not out of this world. Like, yes, he's got great power. But high clutch, high vision, max contact, and a phenomenal swing makes Jorge Posada and a switch hitter a friggin' demon. Jorge Posada is right now my clubhouse leader, but again, I need to see what's available to me. I don't know who's going to be out there. It also depends on if you have your live series collection done. If you have your live series collections done, you're walking into season 2 with Rafael Palmeiro at first base, Babe Ruth at DH or left field, and Pedro Martinez. So you're walking into some stuff. Speaking of switch hitters with Jorge Posada, it is unfortunate to say this, but there is a high likelihood Carlos Santana will be wildcarded by some folks. This is going to be a disaster. Carlos Santana is never going away. I hope you guys don't hate him, because you're going to see him for the rest of eternity. If you use Carlos Santana, I have nothing against you. It is within your right to use a card that's in the game. I blame SDS for this debauchery of an issue, and nobody else. But, I mean, even on his own, Carlos Santana's a crazy good catcher. His attributes are great. He can play a little first base. Switch hitter, of course. That's how it works. But I actually think catcher is probably the focus for most people's wild cards. Again, depending on how things shake out. We're going to go to the left side of the infield next, because I think George Brett and Jimmy Rollins, first of all, are just insane cards. They're just so good. But given the fact that they are either XP reward path or collections, I am guessing a lot of the player base got them so late that they feel as if they have not used them as much as they'd like to. So I can foresee, and I would encourage George Brett or Rollins to get wildcard. George Brett, of course, can also play first, if you're into that. Jimmy Rollins says he can only play shortstop, but I think we've learned that high fielding and high speed shortstops can also play center field. Kind of same goes for second baseman, but more so shortstops. So, those guys, both excellent wildcard candidates. Next up, Kettle Marty. Ketel slaps all the time. I had no intentions of getting this card, and then through the Season 1 recap program, this was one of the lone highlights of that program, I pulled it for free and I couldn't sell it, so I had no choice but to keep it. At the point I was at, I probably would have sold it because I could have gotten like 80,000 stubs for it. Regardless. Ketel's great, plays so many positions. We cannot ignore that. Switch hitter, of course, again, his swing is incredible. His attributes are great. He's the type of guy who's going to slap early in a season with lower-powered cards. To the outfield, just looking again at cards people unlocked late. Larry Walker. He's an XP guy. I had to double check. I couldn't remember if he was collection or XP. XP reward path guy means you might have gotten him super late, and you're just itching to try him out. And that's fine. I don't know what the outfield is going to look like. He's going to be one of the better outfielders, clearly, just in terms of fielding and speed alone. Wouldn't be horrible. Other right fielders, not a ton, honestly. I mean, you could theoretically do anybody you want. You could wildcard Juan Soto. You could wildcard Nicky Sticks. You could wildcard, I don't know, whoever you want. Hank Thompson. Go for it. But Larry Walker's good. We talked about Willie Mays, but Willie Mays is very good. In terms of attainability, he's another, one of those guys people probably got to kind of late. So Willie Mays would be a great option. And I know Willie Mays kind of gets burned by inside pitches, especially velocity. But if we're going back in time to the beginning of a season, the playing field's not as level anymore. Willie Mays is so overpowered compared to those lower-ranked pitchers. He should be fine. Not really a ton of other center fielders. Yeah. Left field. I couldn't find a primary left fielder I wanted to wildcard. Like, Profar is whatever. He's good, don't get me wrong, but he doesn't scream wildcard to me. Lou Brock, you're not going to wildcard like a non-impact-making bat. Braun is good. I'm a big fan of Ryan Braun, but, like, if you have a wild card, why wouldn't you wild card a 99? So I put Mookie Betts in his secondary because I think Mookie Betts is a great card. This card is incredible, actually. I'm hitting 520. Again, a lot of moonshot, but also some Hall of Fame ranked. Just a really good card. So those are the starting lineup, guys. In terms of other hitters, the 2000s captain, David Ortiz, if you're into captains, he would work. Eduardo Escobar, because he has a nice swing and plays a few positions. Remember how good the Cornerstone Buxton was? This is the same exact card, but so much better. So, I mean, early season, this Buxton might be the best card anybody's ever seen. And then just a fun random one. Edgar Martinez is disgusting. Like, he's really friggin' good, and I love him. And I would not be stunned if I gave him a turn at wildcard. In terms of pitching, like I said, I really wouldn't do a wildcard as a starter. Pettit and Page are two guys who people might have gotten late, and therefore they might want to wildcard them once or twice to give them a go. Understand that. I think most of the impact for the wildcard will be made as a hitter or a reliever. In this case, Hobie Milner and Aaron Loup are two lefty relievers. I suggest, remember Andrew Miller, sorry. Andrew Miller is a core card. So if you have core lefty reliever Andrew Miller, you can start season 2 with him. But if you want another lefty, Aaron Loup or Hobie Milner, those are my guys. Then there are other lefties here, relievers here. I'm all jumbled. Blake Trinan, Robert Suarez, Devin Williams, Goosey Goose and the boys, Raleigh Fingers, and Adam Ottavino. That's just, Adam Ottavino I'm just crazy with. That's why I put him here. You could theoretically do Reed Garrett, Jeremiah Estrada, any of these guys. Kendall Graveman, he's not bad. Maeda's not bad. Plenty of Dibble, I guess, if he floats your boat. Plenty of guys. I do think, however, it is the offense that you should focus on as a wild card, especially for that first one. 4 wild cards is going to be something we've never come close to seeing before. So I'm very curious if the meta ends up shifting to a point where more pitchers are used as wild cards. Very curious to see how that goes. It at least gives you the flexibility. But for the first one, off rip, I'm assuming they're going to give us enough pitchers to get by. Plus, we have the core pitchers like Nolan Ryan from the live series collections. I think you just take a bat and you run with it. And that, my friends, is the 10-minute mailbag. It was different. It was zany. It was kooky. We only did one question, but it was a question that so many people were asking. So I figured I would just knock it all out in one video. People are going to watch stuff about that this week anyway. What better place to put it than the 10-minute mailbag? So my question to you all. Who are you wildcarding? Is it somebody I mentioned? Is it somebody completely different? There are certainly options. There were 500 or something cards that came out in season 1. You could really do whoever you... you could wildcard a 90 for all I care. Do whichever you want. It's your choice. It's your team. You make the call. So that'll do it for this 10-minute mailbag. Next week will be the first mailbag of season 2. I'm excited to see what directions we go with it. But we're going to keep having a blast and kicking it here. So thank you guys for making it to the end again. I love you all. See you next time.